Hi, this time I wanted to make a more lighthearted video. If you haven't seen my earlier videos yet, I've had a cold for a while, and you might detect it in my voice that I'm getting better. I still haven't completely recovered from it, but I'm getting better. And so during my recovery, I've been, of course, spending some time thinking and uploading these videos. Now, they're of a different quality than the ones that you've seen. I have, before these videos, I've been adding, theme music and an entry clip and opening and closing credits and so forth. But, when you're sick and you're getting through a cold and so forth, at least I feel more content just laying in bed and just sneezing and coughing and so forth. So that's what I've been doing. I wanted this time to do a more lighthearted video talking about some of the people that were from my early childhood. Sometime I'm contemplating whether to sometime record like sort of an autobiography, but that might be doxing myself too much or revealing too much of myself. I don't know whether I do that. I'm still up in the air whether to do that or not. But anyway, I thought I'd mention a handful of people where I don't know whatever happened to them. Well, the first kid comes to mind when I was living in Binghamton with my mom. She had been in Canada. She and I had lived in Canada, different cities in Canada, and then she took me to Binghamton, and we were staying in a hotel motel type of thing. And I remember there was a kid next door. I remember him being, I think, in a house, small house, and I remember he had a white poodle. And I remember it's weird because I remember his fur being covered with red, and I associated that with blood. It made the poodle seem like vampirific. But I remember having this poster of these Micronaut toys. Now, I didn't know what Micronauts were at the time, but since then I know what they are. And it would have been about that time when Return of the Jedi had come out, and I watched Return of the Jedi. I don't remember that much about this child. He and I were about the same age. He may have been a bit younger. I just remember going over and playing at his house, or at least visiting him. I don't remember really playing at his house that much. So I'll skip over that and go to the next one. Now, this was when I was living in Wetzel. We were in an apartment complex. My mom and I were in an apartment complex, and of course, kids move in and out of the apartment complex, and one of them was a kid named Rob, and I think he may have had a brother, but I remember him, I guess, coming from Texas. I think it was when he left, or at least sometime during. Now, this would have been 1984, 1983 slash 1984 or 84, 85. Because in early 85, I moved with my mom from Wetzel Road to another area nearby, and a whole different school. Not school, just, well, I'll mention it, Liverpool. We moved to Liverpool. So I was at Wetzel, and I remember him. Um, I don't remember much, but except I remember at some point. Oh, I remember going over to his house one time, and he was playing a movie. There was a movie on TV. I think it was on a video cassette of, oh, what's that comedy? Cheech and Chong's, not Up in Smoke, but Cheech and Chong, the Still Smoking, maybe the one that where they go to that country where it's legal to. It had been legal already to smoke weed, and I remember Cheech Marin comes up with this movie, this idea for doing a parody of E.T., except they call it the extra testicle, or he calls it the extra testicle. Those of you who know Cheech and Chong's movies would know which movie I'm talking about. I think it's Still Smoking or the one after that. So I remember being over at his house then, and that was by that point Transformers had come out, because I remember him having Red Alert and a few other toys, and I remember him telling me that he would be, or telling us, like we were outside, I think, telling us that he was going to ride with his father on a motorcycle. I think he had a brother with him, and I thought it was really odd that they were going to go back to Texas, or go to Texas on a motorcycle. That an extraordinary trip from New York. Anyway, so then there was another kid in that same apartment complex. Now there were two kids. There's one kid that lived in the floor beneath my apartment, not directly below, but I mean, there are different levels. And I think our apartment building had 4 levels, 3 or 4 floors. All the buildings in that apartment complex, I think, were constructed the same. The carpeting was different, and the building that we were in was apartment B, or building B, and I was in B10, and I remember that having blue carpeting. And there was another building that had green carpeting, another one that had orange carpeting. I've seen it, and I've been there since, not, excuse me, inside, but I've seen the external apartment buildings, or at least I've mapped out from memory. And there's one building I can't account for in terms of colors. I remember there was a green carpeted one, a blue carpeted one. Maybe there was a red carpeted one and an orange carpeted one. Anyway, there was I think he's Pakistani or Indian. I remember, and I know the name. I could look up the name. I don't want to give out the name, but it's nice. I knew him when he was like 5 at the time, and in the past few years, maybe 7 years ago, something like that, I was able to find him and reach out to him, and he sort of remembered me, and we've had some interactions back and forth by email. That was nice. He's now a doctor, which is really nice. That he made something of himself, or continued on, and a doctor is a good career. But we both played with another kid. There was another kid in the building. I think it was the one with the orangish carpeting that was in the building. I think it was next door to the blue carpeted building. And this kid had his parents were in the like basement floor apartment, and I remember his name being Nicky, and his parents were Steve and Grace Kraus. Now, some years back, about the same time that I was able to track down the that other kid that I was telling you about who became a doctor, I was able to go through old phone books, and there was a reverse phone book where you could look up the address and then find out the names of the people there. And I was able to find Kraus, and I sort of remembered the last name, and I remembered the way he would. Now he was small; he was like maybe 3 or 4 years old. I'm leaning towards 4 because 3 I think would be too young to really move around. And I remember him saying Drace, like his mother's name was Drace. Now, he was of Asian descent. I think his mother was definitely Asian, and his father was American. I assume to be American, like non-Asian. I assume to be American. And I remember sometime his mother took us to, I think it was Onondaga Lake Park or somewhere like that. It was nice for me, and she brought some fish for us to snack on. And primarily what I remember him for was collecting Transformers, some Transformers. I remember he had Sunstreaker, and he had I would call a bucket of Superpowers, Kenner Superpowers action figures. In terms of Transformers, I remember he had Sludge, Sunstreaker. He didn't have Shockwave, but he had what I took at the time to think of as being a knockoff of Shockwave. He probably had Galactic Man or something like that, which was actually the original version of Shockwave before Hasbro bought the rights to it and imported it in and called it Shockwave. He had a lot of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe figures. I remember he had Buzz, was it Buzzsaw? Something like that. Buzz Off, and oodles of He-Man and Masters of the Universe. I remember his father, Steve, being something of an artist, perhaps. Perhaps I'm incorrect on that. But I wanted to do this video partly because I lost track of, what happened to him because my mom and I moved out of that apartment complex, and after that, I don't know what happened to him. But around 2019, I was in not this apartment that I'm in now, but the one next door. See, I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment now, and next door, I just moved into this apartment complex. I moved next door to a studio apartment, and I had this dream where amidst several things, in these dreams, at least in my dreams, I go through different adventures or different scenarios, I guess. And one of them was in a funeral for this kid, and there were a bunch of other kids, and it was something like a Chinese. No, I'm mixing. I don't want to say Chinese. Like it was something like an Asian funeral service. It was like people were dancing, sort of, or they were in costumes or cloaks or something. And I'm trying to remember something from some years back in 2019, a dream I had. But anyway, I think I'm pretty accurate. So it was odd that I would have that dream, and I've wondered if maybe that was some psychic connection. Maybe he had died around that same time. Of course, he would have been much older. So I always wondered what happened to that kid, and I've looked up sometimes on Google and keyword searches and so forth. I don't know what happened to him. It's weird to think that he now would only be about 3 years younger. He'd be in his mid-40s now, which is weird. So then I moved forward to sometime after I moved from Wetzel to Liverpool, and now I'm in sixth grade, and my mom was able to get me somehow connected to taking classes. I would leave elementary school a little bit early. I would get permission to leave class and then join my mom. I was in the school, but I mean, I would join my mom, I guess, at the door entryway out, and we would take a bus to Syracuse University. And I was able to sit in on a college course on animation. And these were college students, and that was really made me feel happy because I enjoyed drawing. I loved drawing, and I was really talented at it. And I enjoyed Transformers and other primarily Transformers. And I wanted to animate stories like that. So I remember I think it's the professor. That's this person I'm thinking of. And going with him, staying at his house, and I remember he had, I think at least two dogs. He had a wife. He had children. I remember them being off in what seemed like the countryside. And I remember his son, it was just a one-time visit, and I remember his son having I think had Rodimus Prime or Ultra Magnus. I remember looking at the box for Ultra Magnus. So he must have had Ultra Magnus, the Transformers toy, and looking at it and seeing the slogan for Ultra Magnus on the box, which was "Consistency is victory." And I remember chanting that with him, having fun chanting that with him. Consistency is victory when you go down in history. And I don't remember much else. I remember him being here in Liverpool, maybe waiting around for a bus or something or other, like waiting around here at the well, I don't want to get into geography, but around here in some of the streets in the village. I remember him. It wouldn't have been that far into the countryside, but I don't even remember his name. I've tried to look for the professor. It shouldn't have been that hard. Would have been at Syracuse University in the Newhouse School teaching an animation class. This would have been during the school year. For me, would have been sixth grade. So that would have been 1987/1988 school year. I don't know how. I've tried a bit. I've tried contacting Syracuse University in the offices or whatever, and they couldn't really track down. It shouldn't be that hard. Granted, a lot of time has gone by, but it shouldn't be that hard to identify what the professor's name would have been. I know the course that he was teaching. I know the year and so forth. That's it. So there is another person I hadn't written down on my list there. There is another person more recently when I had my job at CNN International in Atlanta, Georgia. There was a trainer there. There were several people from my stint there who was working there, and her name escapes me at the moment. I remember her being blonde, and she was training me during that month I was there, and she had a friend who reminded me. Her look kind of reminded me of Kelly from Kelly Bundy from Married with Children, and her friend sort of I think she had like orangish blonde hair. The friend, and she reminded me something of Chrissy Snow from Three's Company. And I remember the friend lived in Smyrna, Georgia, and I can't. I wish I could remember. I if I had known about, if I remembered to mention this person, I would have tried to figure out her name before doing the video. But alas, I can't remember right off the top of my head. I've tried a few times to look up, and I think I came across her name in connection with Illinois somewhere. I mean, later years, like college years. Well, no, not college years. It would not have been college years because I would have had that job I would have had the job in the beginning of, it would have been January 2000, and it was in Atlanta, Georgia, at CNN International, the CNN building. And I wish I could, find out what happened to her. Why do I want to find out what happened to her? Why would I want to contact her? Of course, a lot more years have gone by, but I've grown in terms of my work. I just wasn't. I was awkward when I was there, and the job didn't work out well, and I wanted to say hi, and I thank you for teaching me and trying with me, even though things didn't work out. That's basically what I have wanted to tell her. I don't know whatever happened to her. So I guess that's it. And I'll come up with other things, other topics, and other videos. So stay tuned.